Hello everyone, very good evening to all of you. Thank you for taking your time on a cooling evening to come to our rally today. I'm Marcus Neo, candidate for Jurong East Bukit Batok GRC. And RDU is, we're all reaching the tail end of our campaign. So I would like to invite everyone to give a round of applause for our hardworking team here at RDU. So just a couple of days ago, or perhaps 24 hours ago, our Prime Minister Lawrence Wong had an offhanded moment where he said during his rally speech that if there were more opposition voted into Parliament, there will be more property and estate taxes on private housing and landed properties. He then had quite a genuine reaction and he pointed, why is only the Marine Parade crowd reacting? I use this as an example to address the elephant in the room. We are in Holland-Bukit Timah GRC. I think it's common to associate this GRC with the elite, the wealthy, flashy cars, big houses, and perhaps the higher income segment of society. Just a couple of days ago, I sat down with Mr. PJ Thum from the Online Citizen, who, if I'm not wrong, is a resident of this GRC. Mr. PJ asked me very, very tough questions on the PAP's economic policies, long-term economic sustainability, taxes, social cohesion, and whether or not we should be moving towards perhaps a more tax-heavy society on the wealthy, redistributing our wealth. Very, very tough technical questions. He even cited an example and said that the richest people got wealthy by exploiting workers. He did really put me in a tough spot. I smiled at him and said, Red Dot United isn't against the accumulation of wealth. But we have to take a position against the type of wealth drivers that eventually lead to an unfair and unjust and frayed society. Coming from a humble background where my dad was a blue-collar worker for the most of his life, pulling in long hours in his endeavors, selling chicken rice, being a fishmonger, it is natural for me to seek financial success. Today, I've started a couple of companies. I'm an entrepreneur myself. And I told Mr. Thum, it's not about wealth in itself. It is about how the money is being made. Is our country's wealth made through the rampant influx of hot capital that Singapore, that perhaps the privileged class uses as a tax haven, driving up COEs for normal families, food prices, and housing prices? Is it through trust funds and family offices that may take advantage of potential legislation gaps that lead to an unequal accumulation of landed property, perhaps, for only a secluded segment of society? As I've mentioned before joining opposition politics, I am an entrepreneur myself with aspirations for wealth. Mr. Nassim Taleb, a philosopher that I follow closely, he argues that there are two kinds of rich, or wealth, if you will. The kind that you respect and the kind that you resent. Let me talk about the first kind, the one that you respect. Local entrepreneurs and businessmen come to mind. For example, the late Mr. Sim Wong Hoo, who was a non-graduate. He built one of Singapore's most valuable companies in the tech industry, Creative Technologies. Then we have Mr. Lim Hock Chi, CEO of Sheng Siong Group. He started selling pork from a small outfit, slogged his guts out, and eventually built Sheng Siong Enterprises to what it is today. Well, if you do a quick Google, today they are both worth hundreds of millions or even in the billions to their names. However, when we speak of them, when we refer to them amongst our friends, they are often seen as inspirational figures. You do not feel any sort of resentment towards them. They are our Singaporean entrepreneurs that reflect the grit, perseverance, innovativeness of the Singaporean spirit. On the other hand, let me get to the type that you may potentially resent. It is the bureaucratic class that rents out black and white bungalows, entirely encumbered in their own comforts, hidden from the daily struggles of ordinary Singaporeans. Well, many of them perhaps may use Singapore as a tax haven. They have new citizenships issued to them, but have never intended to integrate or to gel or to contribute to Singaporean society at large. Let me make this clear. Both capital and labor have an important role to play in every successful society. In Chinese, there's a saying, yin yang tiao he, wan wu shen yan. This means that when everything is balanced, everyone benefits and society flourishes. Now, the better question to ask is, what kind of capital and what quality of labor are we attracting or deploying? So let me tell you something surprising about Holland-Bukit Timah GRC. I am very surprised that one of my biggest donors for this political campaign came from a resident from this very GRC. And when I met my good friend and my good colleague, Mr. Harish, who is contesting beside me in JEBB GRC, he told me that when he reached out to the landed estate population, he told me this: it is the rich that will vote for opposition. You see, I believe that the wealthy people too can understand that our current economic model can't continue indefinitely. There must come a breaking point where this 40-ton truck falls off the cliff. If elected, my team and I at Red Dot United will make proposals to incentivize capital to be deployed both efficiently and equitably. This is to ensure that wealthier, the middle class, and lower income segments all benefit so that no Singaporean is left behind. I don't say this out of mere idealism, but a practical appeal to self-interest of our nation and practical economics. For example, when employees feel more protected by fairer legislation, they're happier to come to work, they feel more safeguarded to speak up at work, to innovate, to propose new ideas to their employers, and to produce more. This in turn not only balances the relationship between deployers of capital and consumers of wages via labor, but this also builds a symbiotic win-win relationship between perhaps holders of capital and people who are in the labor segment. Secondly, Red Dot United will push for Singapore to invest in high-value advanced manufacturing. We'll push for Singapore to learn, innovate, replicate, similarly to Taiwan's semiconductor industry and South Korea's precision engineering and high-tech production policy. After all, Singapore was once touted as the 4 Asian tigers when it comes to economic growth. Today, I'm pretty sure you may feel likewise as I do. It can feel that we are at least a decade behind in terms of innovation, high-value manufacturing as compared to our peers in the region. Thirdly, Red Dot United will propose legislation to tackle late payments. There is a good percentage of B2B invoices in our B2B industry that is written off as uncollectible. I know, I am a B2B entrepreneur businessman as of now. To address this, we propose legislation against late payments across all industries to protect micro and small enterprises. Ultimately, we do not want a society that is resentful of the wealthier class, a society that is torn apart by divides in social economic class. I would like to reiterate, I say this not out of idealism, but also in consideration to our nation's long-term self-interest. Together, these proposals can build a Singapore where we don't have just transactional relationships, but one where all citizens from all economic classes can be glued together by a fair and just social contract. A nation where ordinary Singaporeans don't just survive, but strive. Today, Singapore stands at her pivotal moment. Your future, your family's future, and the future of all Singaporeans isn't just in one person's or one political party's hands. And while there's nothing wrong with being or having aspirations for wealth or being born into it through God's given gifts, our country's future and her people is the pride, the burden, and responsibility shared amongst all citizens. Students, working adults, retirees, singles, married, the graduates and non-graduates, the successful and the downtrodden, the young, the middle-aged, and the old. We want a society that isn't too lopsided towards either capital or labor. We want to build a progressive society that takes care of her people, both the wealthy and her poor. We want all Singaporeans from all walks of life to succeed cohesively together, to feel like they have an equal opportunity at life's lofty aspirations. We want Singaporeans from all walks of life to succeed as one united people. Vote for Red Dot United, vote for RDU's Holland-Bukit Timah GRC team. I'm Marcus Yeo. Vote for Singapore. Thank you.